Hey, welcome back to ZK Master Tech. Today, this is probably one of the most famous 9630s on YouTube. I did a video on this tractor 3 years ago doing axle bearings, and that thing's got a whopping 2.5 million views.
That's not good.
It's kind of hard to believe. This tractor kind of put me on the map on YouTube. So thank you for everybody that watched that video. I really appreciate it. Now the tractor's back, but there's nothing wrong with the axle bearings. There's actually an issue with the SCVs, and it's kind of one of the weirdest SCV problems that I've ever seen before. I've never seen a tractor do this. So when you're running an SCV like 1, 2, or 4 in constant, and then you put SCV into float, it kills the entire stack. The pressure, you'll have it at stall pressure, and you put the third SCV into float, and it'll actually take the pressure down all the way to like 269 psi. It's kind of wild. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right. So we got 4 SCVs here, and this is the old CCD bus style SCVs. So on a 9630, the older ones, the old style will have these old cast iron SCV housings, and then you'll have 2 pilot pressure solenoids here on each SCV. So the newer ones are can controlled SCVs, so you actually have like a little controller box on here with one plug-in on there. So this is the older style. We got 4 SCVs. We got the digital pressure gauge into the pressure port, and that's got a P right there to let you know. So we're going to be monitoring the main pump pressure to the stack while we operate the SCVs. I already pressure tested all the couplers, so that is to see, you know, if these couplers can hold and maintain pressure. I just use a hose and a gauge here, pull the SCV back in the extend port for like 3 seconds, and then see if it holds pressure, and then you take the pressure off and you go to the next one, and then you just go all the way up the stack. Well, all of them are good. They all hold pressure good, so eliminated that. I'm going to go up in the cab and run this and show you what I'm talking about. All right. Alright, so that's our standby pressure right there, which is pretty good. Of course, the oil's cold, it's going to be a little higher. But if we deadhead an SCV, so what I mean by deadhead is there's no hoses in the SCV, so the pressure has to deadhead. So it's going to make the pump go to maximum pressure. And there's our stall pressure. And it works on every SCV just fine. And even on 3, the pressure works just fine. Does what it's supposed to, right? So I got all 4 SCVs. You set your SCVs up here on this panel, and they're all set. The 4 is to flow, and they're all on constant. So whenever I pull one of these SCV levers back, it makes a click, so it's going to make that SCV constantly put pressure out of the extend port, which is the left port of that SCV, and then pump's going to stay at stall because it's still deadheaded. So then if we engage 2 and 4, so now we got 1, 2, 4 in constant, right? Everything's happy, pump's at maximum stall. We're going to put 3 into float. So to put an SCV into float, you push down and go forward. Look what it does. Just totally kills the pressure, and as soon as you take it out of float, see how the valve's stuck forward, the lever, so that's how you know it's in float. Take it out of float, boom, everything comes right back. But you can operate this SCV, it doesn't matter, only when you go into float. Isn't that the craziest thing ever? Never in 100 years. So one thing I thought about is these SCVs, whenever you go into float, the controller sends full current to both pilot valves. So I was thinking, well, maybe, when you go into float and you send current both down these at the same time, maybe it's shorting out in the harness somewhere and it's making all the valves go into float. So I unplugged it and then tried it, and it doesn't do it. So that eliminated, an electrical short right there. So I plugged them back in, and of course it does it again. So this valve actually has to physically move in order to affect the pressure. So I got a new SCV to have with me on hand, but I'm going to tear down this entire stack here, and especially we're going to look into SCV 3, and we're going to take that thing apart as much as we can and see if we can find something wrong inside there. And before we get started on this, I know I've got some other things to go do today. I know I got to go put a hydraulic tension gauge on an X9 track frame. So we got to go replace that gauge at the customer's farm. I've also got another 8R tractor that I need to go work on possibly today. Going to be going there and removing the right rear duals in order to fix a hydraulic leak on the tractor, and replace one of the ILS valves on the manifold underneath the front of the engine because it's leaking. So got a lot going on today. I'm going to try to tear this stack down real quick, and then we'll probably go work on the X9, and then probably go work on the 8R, and then that'll probably be the end of today. And then I'll try to come back the following day and work on this SCV stack. I'm trying to hurry because we don't have a whole lot of time. I just got informed that while we're at this place working on that X9 combine, that we got to do a couple tractor pips, which is just software, but it's for the new EVT transmission. So I'm also going to be taking another technician with me, and he's going to be learning how to work on that. Well, learn how to tension the tracks properly on an X9. So I'm going to take him with me. My goodness. And that's just going to leak constantly. Great. That should hold. You ready to go, Ian? I was just getting started. Fine. All right, well, Ian got all antsy and wanted to go, so I literally got one hose off the SCV stack before we had to take off in the truck. We're here at the farm trying to figure out how to get this giant hydraulic door open so we can go into the shop and work on this X9. Looks like Ian figured it out. Dun dun dun. I need to clean my windshield. Boy. Does it beep like that the whole time? That's kind of annoying. All right, so we got the X9 1100 here. Check out this cool ladder. Isn't that awesome? So I guess some guy in Iowa makes these, and this will actually mount down here, and then you can swivel this thing out of the way so you can open the gullwing door. But it is so much easier getting in and out of the cab. I love it. But we're gonna have to swing this out here. Let's see, it's just got a little latch here, and then you just swing it out. What do you think of that, Ian?
A lot better than their other ladder style.
Isn't that nifty? All right, well, you can get this door open because we got to get a hose hooked up to this valve block here. So what we're doing here is we're going to be changing this hydraulic gauge because it's bleeding hydraulic oil into it, so that red stuff you see there is actually dye from the hydraulic oil getting into the gauge. So we're going to have to hook up this special track detention hose up to the cylinder so we can get all the pressure off, swap the gauge out, and then we're going to have to pressurize this cylinder to a certain pressure at a certain temperature. So it's about 58 degrees in here. So there's a chart. So we're going to go to about, it's supposed to be 1,212 psi. I don't know how my audio is going to turn out. There's a bunch of construction guys in here just rocking out. I'm really digging the tunes though, but YouTube doesn't like music. So there's a DR on the concave isolation valve block here. So you got that plugged in?
Got her whipped.
Okay. All right, so Ian's taking the cover off. Ian, how long you been working for Sloan's?
6.5 years.
6.5 years. He went through the John Deere program at Lakeland, Matt Toon.
Yep.
And he's just been working ever since then. He loves X9s.
They're my favorite.
Your favorite. We're taking that cover off. Ooh,
There she goes.
it is a little leak. It's actually leaking, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit of schmear.
A little schmoo on there. Oh, I'm gonna have to get a wrench for that. But in the meantime, take this. Uh-oh, we're gonna have to spray the poopies out of that. So Ian's getting that threaded on there. You do gotta grip it with the pliers a little bit to get it all the way tight. Wrench pliers there. Turn that valve. So we don't have to have it running to do this. We're just going to detension it. Yep. There you go. That's it. I'll just let it sit here and detension.
Do its thing.
All right, I've got the pressure bled off. 7/16 wrench fits that. Oh, it's a tapered pipe thread. So we're gonna put some Loctite 592 on it.
Try not to get blasted with oil.
Was it coming out hard? You got your safety specs on. You're good. I can't have any pressure on it. Was it feeling funky, Ian? You're making me nervous. It's good? Loose?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because there's also nitrogen pressure on the other side of the piston and the cylinder. So like you have to nitrogen charge them to a certain pressure, a certain temperature, and then you also have to hydraulically charge them. Okay, here. Put some of that on there. Got the gauge installed. So now we're opened up. I put a red transducer on here, so that's up to 5,000 psi. Got the digital gauge hooked up here, and we're going to, so you're going to get up in the cab and you just run the contour master all the way to the left or the right, it doesn't matter, and you're just going to deadhead the pressure until I tell you to shut it off. See the pressure on the gauge coming up. There, he moved the contour master of the feeder house, and he's going to hold it. So, yeah, too much pressure. But anyway, so I'm going to shut that valve off, and he's going to kill the machine, and then we'll take the pressure off until that's 1200. So now we've got almost 3000 psi sitting in there. So you're going to open that valve gently and regulate the pressure down to around 1200. You got to be real ease into it because it bleeds off super fast. Oh, see, you got to get a feel for it. You're down to 2,400. You just kind of got to bleed a little out and then let, open and close, open and close. You got to be able to hear it come out. There you go. 1,200. 1212. If you hit 1212 exactly, I'll buy you whatever drink of your choice on the way back. There's a lot on the line here, Ian. Oh, look at you go. What's it at? See, it goes up. The pressure stabilizes and it actually expands just a little bit. It's tricky, isn't it? Oh man.
Close.
You're gambling now. Oh, you are so close. Oh, 1250. I mean, technically you could stop there and it's probably okay. But you do you, Ian.
1229.
1229. If you pressurize that and leave them at 3,000, these tracks will vibrate really bad going through the field. About 4 mile an hour, it will shake you to death. So you definitely want to get this pressure spec right. And when you're actually pressured into spec at a lower ambient temperature, it's almost on the red on the gauge, which I don't like that gauge. I feel like when it's properly tensioned, it should be maybe more towards the middle, but that's not how they made them for some reason. So when a normal person walks up to that, they're like, my track tension's in the red. It's bad, but you got to know what you're doing. So what do you think? You going to take a little more off? You going to leave it? Your call.
Yeah. We'll go just
Oh, he just can't stand it.
$222. That's a lot better.
You're talking like 10 psi here.
Yeah.
You calling it good?
I can live with that.
Okay. Also want to mention, whenever you're driving this combine throughout the day and the tracks and the oil and everything heats up, that tension will climb up. So if you are too high a pressure when the oil and everything is cold, then as you drive and the oil heats up, it's going to way over pressurize and over tension these tracks, which can cause a vibration. And it's just really hard on all the components when you're putting that much tension on everything. Wanted to show you guys where the nitrogen port is down here. So this is a nitrogen charged hydraulic cylinder. So down there is where you do the nitrogen side, but we don't have to mess with that unless we were actually changing that cylinder because it's already been nitrogen charged. So we were on the other side of the piston and the cylinder was just hydraulic side. Okay, we got the X9 done. That's all happy. Now we're going to move on to the 8RX 410. And this one actually has an EVT transmission in it, so it's an electric variable transmission. What I can tell you about it is it can handle more horsepower than an IVT, right? Because it's in a 410 horse tractor. So normally IVTs generally stop at the 370 horsepower range. They don't put them in anything past 400 horse until they came out with this EVT. But on the inside of the transmission, it's nothing like an IVT. So it's built more like a power shift on the inside of the transmission. And then on the back side of the transmission, right up here, we got two motor generators that are basically taking the job of the hydro unit and the clutch unit that we used in the IVT transmission. So a little bit more robust, can handle more horsepower, but still give us the same drivability characteristics of an IVT transmission. Now, it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar in how they operate on an operator standpoint. So this morning we're doing a software PIP on this machine. So we're just updating the transmission software. So Ian's up there. I already got the payload download on the laptop there, and he's going to program the trans controller. And hopefully we don't have to do a transmission calibration at the end of that. It just depends on if there's a code that comes up after we do the download onto the controller. So we're going to just do one. We've got two of them to do here. We're going to do one and see what happens, because this one's hooked to a giant auger cart, 2096 bushel cart. And it's kind of yucky outside, and this thing's all clean, and we can't really drive it around. In order to do a transcal, we'd have to drive it and get the oil hot and run hot oil through all the clutch packs before we do a transcal. So we can't really do that today, so we're going to just try to do the software and then see what happens. Is it going?
Yep.
All right.
33%.
And we wait. Well, is it happy, Ian? Clearing the codes. Did you make it mad? Okay, just calibrate TCM's all that's there. Okay, we don't care about the terrain compensation module. We're good to go. So I'd say it's safe to say we can go try the other one. We got to go hunt it down. 603 hours. 603 hours. Oh, 410 horses were just a humming this morning.
Yep.
All right, we're leaving the new shop they got built here. Still under construction a little bit, but man, is it huge. So we got to go to another shop here on the property to track this other 8RX down. All right, all you Case IH guys can eat your heart out. Look at this. Did you find it, Ian?
Yeah.
Marco?
Very.
You didn't say polo. Oh, there it is. I already got the payload downloaded, ready to rock. All right, another 8RX 410 here, and lots of 9RXs. And a random old, is that a 7720?
Yep.
Would you look at that?
That is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I tell ye what.
Whew. Turbo 7720, doesn't get much better than that. Get your fingers crossed, Ian, and your toes.
Hopefully.
B1 with the laptop. Ian scared me. It said calibrate transmission.
We also lost the internet connection.
Well, we don't need internet to do that. You better tell that thing to behave itself. We got time for shenanigans. Even got every generation of John Deere logo on the wall with the date. It's pretty sweet. And Ian said, not today.
Good to go.
Good to go. Sweet. Well, we're done here. All right. 1968. What's that one? 2000? Yeah. Awesome. Let's go home. All right, and we're back. So we get started back on the 9630 here. Those aren't 18s. 19. Well, hopefully we'll get lucky and the stud won't spin. It's coming off. Uh-oh. See that? Stud wants to come out. Not cool, man. Well, let's get this nut off. So I stuck it in a vise. Took the nut off. Get that threaded back down in there. Dang it. Just can't win. Now I can remove the top cap. Come on. Come on now. Why? There we go. So I labeled all these so we can get them back where they're supposed to go. Whoa, come on. There we go. Laying some pig mat down. So I got the third SCV off. I actually got to hurry up because we're having a company lunch today. Every month we have a company lunch, and 1 month the service department puts it on, then the parts department the next month, and then the sales the next month, and then it rotates. So it's a pretty nice thing that Sloan Implement does for us. We all get together 1 day a month for a meal for lunch. So got to go do that today. So I'm going to take off this logic plate here. Yeah, 3/8 fits a little better. Try that. Jeesh. Let's bring up the aggression level. Mid torque don't care. See, there's little checks in here. Pull out these spools. One looks okay. Poppet valve seems alright. Alright, I'm going to use these snap ring pliers to grab this other poppet valve. Well, I still need to get the other side apart, but it's lunchtime. Well, I got the main spools out. Not seeing any here I am to fix me's yet. Got the poppets out, logic plate, all the lead sense check valves, are where they need to be. And here, this is what we call a dime valve to check the load sense right here, the SCV, and all of them are in so far that I've checked so far. So, haven't found a smoking gun yet, but just got done eating lunch. I had a double pork chop sandwich, and I'm a bit full at the moment. So, I have to put a pin in this situation because I got to load up the truck. I got to put a heavy air jack in there to go work on this 8R tractor. I got to take the rear duals off and fix a leak on it. So we're going to put a pin in this situation and we'll come back, but we're going to go work on an 8R now. All right, made it to the next job. I know we kind of been bouncing around a lot, but normally I'll do a video and we just kind of focus on one thing. I'm showing you guys kind of the daily life of a John Deere technician like me. And, you know, we usually have like 5 or 6 projects going on all at once. And you just gotta be able to tackle them all. So I'm just kind of showing you a day in my life. So now we're at this 8310R here. Has a hydraulic oil leak on the hydraulic pump. There's a little pipe that goes in between the pump and the case. We're going to be going after, so we got to get the duals off, the oil drained, that area cleaned off, and get that pipe replaced. Put that all back together, and then there's a valve on the ILS manifold that we got to replace to fix the leak there. So I've already got the tractor jacked up with an air jack, and now I'm going to take this outside dual off. So I got it all blown off as good as I could in here. Got 2 hydraulic filters that I just took off right there. And the pipe we're going after, it's hard to see back in here. But it's this. I can't even get my hand in there to show you. This. There's this little S pipe in here that goes from the case and slips in to the pump. There. Get a little side view here. It's that pipe right there. And that's how much oil I just drained out as well. And I got the Milwaukee tower light set up in there and got pretty good light in here. All right, so I'll let you guys in on a little secret. A little pipe right there, you can get it out, but you have to twist the pipe like that, and then you have to take this line off here that snakes down, which is this one right in your way, and you take this one off that goes right there, and you pry this one up as far as you can. So it'd be this line right here, pry it up as far as you can, and then take this line right here and pry it that way as far as you can, And then I take some Nipex Cobra pliers like these, and I reach back behind here and I grab this, oh, well, it's falling down. Anyway, I grab the pipe with the pliers and then I twist it that way, and that'll allow me to go that way out of the pump. Because you got to get it off of the flange so you can go that way, and it will come out. But getting a new one in, that's the tricky part. All right, well, you can finally see the pipe now. So you got an O-ring flange there, and then one O-ring here. There is an updated part number for this pipe. So whenever I take that out, I always get the new pipe and put new O-rings on and put that baby in there. And then I haven't had one of these actually leak again, so seemed to last a lot longer. Don't really know what the difference is, but yeah, it works, so I put it in. All right, well, I got the pipe installed down in there. You can see the silver pipe down in there. Boy, those bolts are fun to get in, let me tell you what. Anyway, I put new filters on. I also took out the priority valve right here and replaced the O-rings on that. Those are really bad about getting the O-rings blown. I've shown that on a couple of videos before, but I just went ahead and did that while we were here. So, and the O-rings on them were pretty bad. I mean, they weren't broken, but they were really flattened and chewed up. So it's a good thing we went ahead and pulled that out and fixed that. And now I just got to get my Milwaukee transfer pump out and pump this oil back in the tractor. This is the amount that I lost out of the clean oil reservoir when I took that pipe off. I'm not going to put that oil back in. So I've got some new oil with me to top it off. All right, well, I got it all filled up with oil, ran it, no leaks, topped it off, put the tires on, done. So now I'm going to move on to the front end. Got the front end supported because I'm going to manually bleed off the pressure in the ILS system. Look at that. So the oil is leaking out of the stem of this dampening valve. You got your decrease valve and you got your left dampening valve. These are used to manually bleed off the pressure in the ILS system. So you just push the button in. You can't see it very good, but these buttons push in and then you just turn to the left and that takes all the pressure off the system. That one in. That one didn't want to go. There. There it goes. All the weight's sitting on my jack now. So I'm going to get this all cleaned up and get this solenoid valve out. Ta-da! It's replaced. I also found that this solenoid was loose, so I tightened it. Hopefully it doesn't need an O-ring kit because I don't have one with me today. But whenever you take one of these valves out, you got to make sure you're careful because oil will come out and there's a little orifice valve, it's like a little dime valve orifice that will come out of that hole because the oil will push it out. So you got to be careful. I always stick a magnet kind of underneath the solenoid and I let the oil kind of flow out until it slows down, and then I pull it out and I try to catch it with that magnet. Sometimes they don't come out, but a lot of the times that oil will push that little orifice out and you don't want to lose it. So make sure you capture that. If you want to know more, I've got a video that I replaced these solenoids in more detail, so check that out. So I got the tractor pressurized. I manually raised the ILS suspension and it's all the way up and no leaks. Sweet. So I'm gonna get the shields and everything back on that go underneath here. Well, another service call. So I was headed back to the shop to work on the 9630. Boss called, say, hey, can you come look at this 6R? It just died on the customer is setting a code for the fuel rail pressure sensor. Can you go check it out? Sure, here I am. I don't know if I'm ever going to get back to the 9630. See, that's the way it goes. You know, you'll have a shop project and then you'll get all these field calls, and then, you know, you try to get back to it and something else comes up, and then, you know, you're just juggling more and more and more things. So the work never ends, basically. So got this 6R here, 6R, it's a 6130R, and I checked the codes in it, and it had the fuel rail pressure sensor circuit fault 157.03, and it was stored in there 126 times, which is the maximum amount you can store a code in a controller. So I ran the tractor, couldn't get it tacked up. Talked to the customer, he said it's fine in the morning whenever it's cold, and then once it warms up, it'll act up. Sometimes it'll set the code and not die, sometimes it'll set the code and it'll die. So I did all the circuit checks on it, and this is what I found. So I had to get all the shields off and get into the ECU and take that connector off there. And there's 3 wires going to that sensor. So I'm doing resistance checks from the ECU to this interconnect right here. And then the fuel rail pressure sensor is kind of back here behind this plate right there. And it's a booger to get that thing unplugged. You gotta use pliers to, I can't get my fingers in there behind that plate. Anyway, got that out, started doing resistance checks, and it was perfect all the way to that sensor. But whenever I use the appropriate probe out of my flex probe kit into that sensor, the terminals didn't feel super tight. Like if I compared it to the female version of that probe, it fits a lot tighter than it does in that sensor. So what I'm thinking is, as the engine temperature goes up, those terminals heat up and spread, causes an intermittent open, throws the code, causes the engine to die. So I went ahead and I ordered a new harness here. Actually, this part of the harness was just recently replaced because there was a fire on top of the engine. I guess a bird's nest caught on fire on top of the engine. So the rest of the harness has been replaced. There's 3 parts to these harnesses. There's, you know, your main harness, then you have a left and a right little extension harnesses. So I ordered the left extension harness, and I went ahead and ordered the sensor. We had it on hand, so whenever I come back, I'm going to replace that harness and possibly that sensor. I need to get the sensor out in order to test it. So I just went ahead and had it on hand. And yeah, so now I'll be going back to the shop. I got the 6R back together. I'm gonna head back to the shop. But unfortunately, we ran out of time for this video. So I'm going to try to keep you guys informed on what I find on that 9630. Hopefully I can include it in the next video that I do. I appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you don't know how to subscribe, you know, ask somebody, you know, ask how to sign into Google, have a Google username and password so you can, you know, sign into YouTube and subscribe to the channel, because you never know when I'm going to have an update. Right now, I've been uploading videos once a week. So if you hit that notification bell, you're going to get notified whenever one of my videos goes public. So, and hit the like button. It really helps me out, helps get these videos out to other people. And let me know how I'm doing in the comments below. And until next time, keep that green iron moving.